How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. As seen by the title and thumbnail, today we're getting the 2008 RM125 engine back together. So we have all the parts now to get the engine buttoned up and get the RM125 build underway. So as you can see here on the bench, we have all the vapor blasted parts, like the cases, covers and all that. So we need to give them a thorough washout before we start putting it back together, and just to make sure that when it was vapor blasted, the media in the water is all removed. It's like very fine, sort of about the same consistency as baking soda, so we just don't want any of that running through the gearbox and in the combustion chamber. So I'm just going to get the hose and give them a real thorough washout. So one of the first things we need to do before we progress into building the motor, we need to go through the transmissions and pretty much build like the best gearbox. So if you didn't see the last video, I'll leave it linked up here. But it was just a RM125 update video. So I explained why I now have two transmissions if you're just new here. So yeah, I've just got to go through and make sort of the best gearbox, because the one that was originally out of it, there's quite a few gears that are rounded. So I bought a good second-hand gearbox, and there's just the one gear, I'm pretty sure, that needs to be swapped over from the old gearbox. In this box here, we've got just a whole lot of different parts and stuff. So yeah, if you didn't see that last video, this is the original gearbox that was out of the RM125, and as you can see there, that gear is absolutely minced, and all the dogs are rounded as well. And then there's a few gears on this shaft. See that one there? It's a bit rounded, but yeah, and there's a few teeth chipped on them. So I've bought this gearbox here. So it's out of a 2006 RM125, I believe. So I bought this from a wrecker local here in Tauranga. And apparently this gearbox is mint, but just want to triple check, make sure that it's going to be suitable for the bike. Alright, so it's this gear here that was on the end of this shaft here. So as you can see, the dogs are quite rounded on that gear. But then this is the one out of our gearbox, so it's just a little bit better than this one. So we'll put this gear in. So yeah, it's actually all we had to do is just swap that in gear on that output shaft over. So yeah, now the like the gearbox and the shifting components and stuff is all ready to be put in the cases. For those of you that don't know, if you put your case in the oven, it will expand the aluminium. And then if you freeze the transmission bearings and main bearings, it'll actually slide into the case a lot easier. So I'm just going to go and put the cases in the oven. Probably not a wise idea if they're full of oil and grease and stuff, unless it's an oven that's solely for like garage use. So it's only the two center cases that I'm putting in the oven. Just because I'm replacing all the transmission bearings on both sides. So there's three there, and then there's three there as well, and then obviously I'm doing the main bearings. So I just wrap them in a bit of tin foil, just put them in the oven until they're hot. Don't need to overdo it. Right, so I'm going to have to be pretty quick about it, but I've got to go and get the cases out of the oven and then the bearings out of the freezer, and then I've got to try and get them in before it cools down, otherwise it just makes it a pain in the ass to get back in. And also got to make sure they're the right way around, because on my RM250 I put like two bearings round backwards. For some reason they just sort of like glued in there afterwards, like they were real tight. Before you pull an engine apart, take some photos for reference, and then you won't have an issue getting it back together. Now for case number 2. So as you've just seen, those bearings slip in quite easily once you heat the case up and cool the bearings down. They're now sitting outside just cooling down because they're still really hot. So once they both come down to room temperature, we can start installing the bearing retainers, get the gearbox in, crank in, and then we can press the two halves together. Now I'm just going to start installing some of the seals. So we've got the 2 for the main bearings, the 1 for the clutch actuator, the output seal, and then there's a few on the inner clutch cover. Got the kickstarter seal, the water pump seal, and then you've also got the gear shift seal there. If you guys rebuild engines and you haven't got yourself one of these crank tools, they are honestly like the best tool for rebuilding like engines. Like as you would have just seen, it's done that like a real good job of pressing that together, because you have a interference fit here on both sides of the crank. So an interference fit is the crank is actually bigger than the inside of the bearing race. That's why they have to be pressed in. Plus you've got all the components in the gearbox, like the shafts and the dowels and stuff to line up. So once they're lined up, as you would have seen, I did the first part by hand, and then yeah, it comes with everything you need to just bolt it on the end of the crank, and then it pretty much pulls this side of the crank through the case. If you're looking for one of these, I'll leave it linked down in the description. I bought mine from Moto X Parts, so yeah, head over there and check them out. So just like that, guys, the RM125 bottom end is together. So yeah, now we just need to get the flywheel and stator on, and then we need to get all the clutch components, the shifting components, and then just bolt the new cylinder, get the piston and head on, and then the engine will be ready to drop back into the frame over here. So it's a new day and I'm back out in the shed after work, and I really need to get the engine buttoned up for the RM125. You would have seen in the last clip we got the cases back together, so yeah, we'll just get straight back into it. Unfortunately, guys, we've run into another problem assembling the bottom end of the RM125. So Dad actually pulled it apart, so I didn't actually realise, but these two screws here, they were rounded when he was going to pull them out. So this is actually one of the screws that was in there, and as you can see, there's not a lot left of it on the head. That was once a Phillips screw. Obviously we can't put them back in. We'll just have to wait until tomorrow. I'll swing past the hardware shop on the way home and I'll pick up 2 new screws for that, and then yeah, we'll get it finished off tomorrow. But in saying that, we did get a lot done. We got all the kickstart, idler gear, the shifting components, the clutch and the primary drive gear on. So yeah, there's not a great deal left. Just got to bolt the inner clutch cover, the water pump, get the power valve and the water pump shaft on. Have to put the outer clutch cover, and then on the other side we've got the flywheel and magneto to put on, and just the top end. So yeah, still say it's a pretty successful night really. Also, for those of you that don't know, when installing a new clutch you have to soak the fiber plates in some oil. So since we're replacing the clutch, I've had the fibers soaking in here since like 2 days ago when we started putting the engine together. So yeah, you need to soak the fibers before you install them, otherwise they'll just slip. And then also the steels have 2 sides to them. So there's a sharp side and there's a more rounded side. So you just got to pick one way. So either rounded side in or flat side in, and you just keep that consistent all the way through. Yeah, and then so it's fiber steel, fiber steel, fiber steel, so on until yeah they run out. And then yeah, I installed the new springs, and then you Loctited the bolts. So guys, new day, got the 2 screws here, so let's rip straight back into it. Right guys, so that is pretty much going to wrap up part 1 of the RM125 engine rebuild. I'm super stoked with the way it's turning out. Definitely way better than I would have expected for this bike, considering that we're building it up to sell and hopefully make a profit. But yeah, it's turning out real sick, so I'm excited to get the top end and stuff on and see how it looks with everything on it and the black accents on the covers and stuff. But the next video we'll be finishing up the engine and then yeah, hopefully starting to put it in the frame and really get the build underway. So hopefully it won't take long. I just got the new wheels today. I don't know if you can see them down there, but yeah, I'll show you guys in a later video. Like I mentioned in another video, I'm really excited to get both RMs out there, and yeah, I reckon it'll just be real sick having both the RM250 and RM125, because definitely doesn't happen often that you own both bikes of the same era. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a big thumbs up. Go down below, smash that subscribe button if you want to see the RM125 take shape. And yeah, cheers for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.